J-Dog, easy play, anytime, stop, nada, much. Slayer, Boxer, C, Bisu, Savior, 16 of the most powerful StarCraft gamers in the world. LG, Intel Centrino, Gong TV, Star Invitational.
You know, I was thinking about that last game, and I'm starting to think maybe it actually wasn't a bad idea that Stork attacked that first depot when the first Dark Templar got there, because that way Terran can't wall in, and that way he can get some more Dark Templars in there. Again, I think, as I reflected on it, you can really see how smart Stork is and how he's able to maintain his momentum when he starts to win because of decisions like that. Stork's at the bottom. Iris is at the far left. Positions which are fairly close. We've seen mostly cross-spot games on this map. I'm interested in seeing if Stork will go for the fast Nexus or perhaps a very standard early Dragoon build, or if he might even go for some type of really aggressive rush. Oh, look at that artwork. Those must be carriers. Terran going for the wall-in. We may see less Marines in this case, which will allow for an earlier factory. I mean, it'll allow for an earlier factory too, but I actually meant to say early command center. The gateway comes, so it will not be a Nexus first build. Two very interesting players today. Now, Stork is, as I said before, so good at maintaining his momentum, but Berserker is one of those players where if you slip up, he will absolutely capitalize on it and crush you. I mean, this guy does not mess around. Oh, quick! Look out! Camera! Stork's builds always seem to prove to be the best possible builds you could use on a map. I mean, if there's a player whose build orders you're going to copy if you want to learn, Stork is definitely a person to start with, especially for his PvP and his PvT. If you're going to copy a PvZ build, copy Bisu. Or as the Koreans call him, Pisu. Trying to do some SCV harassment, but his micro is just too good, the micro Berserkers. Terran will probably get a command center up before the factory is finished, and I think because of that, Stork might be trying to keep this probe alive so that he can build a pylon in the location where the command center would normally be built, but it doesn't matter because we already killed it. Now he's upgrading Dragoon range. Looks like this is going to be a very, very... Well, it's not going to be as much of an early Expo game for Stork. He has his reasons for this. The SCV has now been taken out. Both players do not have a very strong idea of what the other one's doing. I think Berserker's build is a bit more predictable than Stork's is. Protoss have more options and different build orders in this matchup. Terran are the kind of race where you can do the same thing, 10 games in a row and still win 10 times in a row. Protoss have to mix it up. Doesn't mean one's better than the other or one's harder than the other. It's just different styles. And good players have to adapt under those circumstances. Early Reaver drop. We did see something like this happen in Much's game against Nada. Early Reaver dropping is never a bad idea, especially on maps like this where your expansion is so far away from the main and Terran players feel very comfortable about expoing early. Oh my god, is he going to get this depot? Siege mode is upgrading. Once he gets siege mode, he'll drive him out. But he could use those Dragoons to just keep the Terran units in the front of his base and then Reaver drop in the back. Nexus very soon there. Wham, there it is. The standard 3-mine plant for the Terran early on. This allows the Terran to hold off some Dark Templars and still get the command center out early. That way they can make the engineering bay a little bit later. Here's the robotic support base, so it looks like Stork will be going for the Reaver drop. Armory, built shortly after the second factory. Terrans like to get a lot of upgrades on this map. They turtle for a little bit, and then when the upgrades are finished, they take that as the opportune moment to begin the push. You can also use that armory to help, well, I mean, it allows you to make Goliaths, which can be a substitute for the engineering bay. Builds like this are very, very susceptible to DT drops, by the way. Especially if you can keep the shuttle alive. They can just keep scanning and then you just pick up and leave and then come in at another angle. Now, aware that there's a possibility of some type of a drop, he's going to plant a few mines here. Stork has to predict where the mines would most likely be planted and then not land there. 2 mine hits and your Reaver is just out of the game. Speaking of Reavers, using the Dragoon, he can drop the Dragoon first. Tanks automatically target fire the Dragoon, and then he drops the Reaver. Reaver's going to be the one that does all the damage, but whoa, he's got to be careful with that shuttle. The Goliaths and the tanks, everything the shuttle does not like. They barely cross paths. Now, because it looks like the early Reaver harassment is not going to be that effective, it's going to be pretty tough for Protoss to recover in such a way. So he's going to go for the Stargate tech. And he's already scanned it. Berserker's scanning it the very second that the Stargate had started. This means that Berserker has a high chance of winning with a timing push. Stork is now going to send his observer in. Taking a look at those minerals so you can see how long the expansion's been up. Terrans get their second expansion a lot sooner than they normally do on this map. That's mainly because they know that the Protoss is going to attack the carriers and not go mass gateways, so they don't have the ground advantage to stop that. And a smart move, he's scanning his base. Now that he knows the carrier tech is started, he already has the timer set up in his brain, so he knows how long it'll be before the carriers get into the game, so he spends most of his other scans scanning his base to pick off observers, keeping the Protoss in the dark. When the carriers start making, Protoss will be in its most vulnerable state. Stork keeping a good contain over here. And here comes a Reaver drop. In where the 2 tanks are. Picking off the 2 tanks with no problem at all. Now pulling out again. Losing tanks like this is not good for Terran. It makes your push that much softer. Stork really keeping Berserker contained. And more units on the way to reinforce. Getting that forge out as well. Berserker wants to get out of his base. He wants to get that expansion up soon. He already made the command center. It's going to be money lost if he doesn't start using it. Looks like he's going to do a close-in with the Dragoons. Dropping a Zealot here. And then dropping the tank and target fire that should be dropping a Reaver. Oh my god! Stork is just walking over him. Berserker's overextended himself. Stork's making this look easy. Now taking out the command center. Oh wow, this is so bad for Berserker. He's lost all of his, the primary attack units, the siege tanks, making it rather difficult. Well, it's just so hard to push out now. And with the carriers coming in here, all he has to do is get a few more carriers. And from there, it's all downhill. And he loses the shuttle. It's a loss for Stork, but not a big one. That would help him keep a little bit of map control. Now he's kind of closing in, really applying some pressure to Berserker. Running in here. Whoa, almost taking a lot of damage from those mines. Stork attempting to suicide the Dragoons into the mines for the damage to the tanks to take more damage. Excuse me. Now he will lose the rest of these Dragoons. However, I'm curious if the necessary damage has already been inflicted. We need to get a shot of how many more units Stork has, and it is not that many. Looks like Berserker's not going to go in for the push, and being the aggressive player he is, he knows this is an ample opportunity to maybe make some kind of comeback. And yes, I am actually standing up in this game right now because it is so exciting. Oh man, this is going to be really, really tough for Stork now. Stork actually may have overextended himself more than I initially thought. That is so many units for the Terran. The two carriers are out. He will eventually hold up the push, but it's a question of how many probes can Berserker actually take out? It looks like it will be a lot. Remember, these players are tied historically. Probes evacuating from the main expo. He could pick off the Nexus. Meanwhile, Vulture Bikes zipping to the back. Stork may have taken what was a very easy advantage and just screwed it all up. Taking out these tanks, but the Vulture Bikes in the back can take out a lot of probes, but no, they won't. They instead are sleeping on the job. Very, very difficult position. I really do think that Berserker needs to be focus firing the Nexus if he wants to solidify his advantage. But who knows? More and more tanks coming in here now. They will be able to take out those towers. Oh man, Stork, what have you done? What were you thinking going in that far? He already had it won once he took out the rest of those units. I don't know why he decided he needed to take it this far and then start walking into Berserker's base. Oh my god, the main Nexus has gone down. Dragoons having very short lives as they come out of the gateways. This is so bad. Stork does have an expansion over here at the top right. But is that enough? Berserker has already expanded again. And my god, there's more Goliaths on the way. It looks like he's going to try to chase back the rest of these carriers. Any carriers he can soften up will really help him win in the long run. I know we did see Iris defeat Anytime when he was in this position by transitioning into Wraiths. Man, Stork just really threw this game away. I can't believe this. Doesn't mean he's bad, but I mean, he just got very overconfident. Now, it looks like Stork is going to manage with his excellent carrier micro to hold off the rest of this attack. But that, I don't know how much that matters, because unless Stork can muster up a lot of carriers and get the ground army to help it out, it's going to be really bad. Picking off the two observers That is a sign he might be going for the raid. Not sure though. Taking out that one tank. Here comes the Dragoon to assist the carriers. Non-stop carrier production by Stork. Berserker may have decided it's time to back off now. No, he has a lot of Goliaths. Oh god, what are you going to do, Stork? What are you going to do right now? Now he has to control his carriers really well. He has to pull his carriers up over this ledge where the Goliaths are kind of out of reach. The Zealots in that army really help the carriers out. Oh no, but he's going to get one carrier taken out. Can't afford to lose carriers in a moment like this. Again, Berserker has to be so careful to maintain this advantage because once the carriers start to build up on this map, there's really not a lot you can do. And Stork being easily one of the most brilliant Protosses ever will probably be able to stay ahead if he can get enough carriers. Even after losing his main Nexus and his main ground army. Look at how he micros those carriers. Just brilliant. More Goliaths on the way. At this rate, Berserker can start to take the whole map while he keeps these carriers matted down on the base. However, if Berserker is actually overextending himself and the carriers begin to multiply, well, that could be another story too. Carriers trying to take out some Goliaths. Some micro back and forth, a game of cat and mouse right now. Suddenly, Berserker's going to realize that there is an expansion up here that he needs to deal with. And oh boy, this is going to be tough. The farther that Berserker closes into his opponent's base, the more powerful the carriers seem to become. And I'm starting to wonder if this might be a blunder by Berserker to keep sending Goliaths in like this. If he can get enough, I mean, it could be another turnaround game. And now he's actually chasing him out because he has Dragoons in the army. Looks like Stork might be going in for some type of counterattack now at that expansion. All right. A lot of turrets over here at this expansion. I also see on the minimap Berserker's expanding to the top left, a location the carriers really can't get to. Here he comes in from behind. Now it's Stork's turn to try to make a comeback. Did Berserker throw away too many units here? Does he have enough interceptors to actually pick off this army, or will his interceptors get eaten up by the massive defensive structure that is Berserker? It looks like he has enough. Now trying to take out a few tanks. Again, the positioning of the architecture of the map is made in such a way that it really favors carriers. Goliaths just lack the mobility to hunt them down. 2 siege tanks sneaking up on this expansion. Looks like Stork's going to have to use probes to fight that off. Oh no, but he overextended himself, and this one tank in siege mode will now have to face some very pissed off Stork probes. They want to mine those minerals, and now, yep, this small attack that could have taken out a lot of probes was a total throwaway by Berserker. Both players making lots of mistakes as the pressure is on them. But Berserker doing everything he possibly can to hold up what is now a massive amount of carriers. Berserker also now finally utilizing this expansion to the top left. Now it looks like Berserker's going to go in for a counterattack, but this may be too soon. He may have needed to sit back for a little bit longer. Stork has too many carriers, and this angle is just too good for Stork. With carriers like this, I mean, look, he can't even really engage the carriers. Stork is microing them so carefully. They never stop moving. He's clearly shift-clicking on the Goliaths. This may be the game that destroys my voice, as it has been so exciting. So tense. Stork needs to maintain his advantage if he wants to win this game. The next map, well, all of these maps favor Protoss, I believe, to some extent, but if Stork can stay alive for long enough and get those upgrades on his carriers, the attack upgrades, now doing what Protosses know how to do best on this map, counterattacking rather than sitting back. taking out these turrets. He could even go for a command center assassination if he does it right. Now backing out and deciding that he needs to rebuild a few more interceptors before he engages that again. Moving the Dragoons up to the top left, where the Goliaths cannot help. A small attack force of Storks that will do a lot of damage, unlike the 2 tanks, which Berserker pretty much threw away. He can pick off SCVs pretty easily. More and more carriers enter this game, and Berserker's chances are slowly beginning to shrink, and what looked like he had an advantage he could have won is now completely turned around as Stork really managed to attack in all the right locations and all the right times. Picking off Goliaths one by one, and it just looks like the Goliaths are frozen in fear as the ass-kicking that is Stork's carriers ravage his base. Stork distracted, however, at the top left did not micro his Dragoons. Looks like Berserker's now turned around. And Stork knows he's going to have to go back and defend that expansion. If he can defend this expansion. Oh, man. I don't think that's enough. I really don't think that's enough units to actually do what he wants it to do. Note that the entire path towards this expansion, which Berserker's trying to kill, is just a dreamland for carriers. Stork was really, really smart to expand at that top right location. It's almost impossible for Berserker to get to it. And yeah, he will be able to pick off all of these carriers, no problem. It almost looks like Berserker was not even paying enough attention to even micro them. And he is now going to lose the rest of these Goliaths to the carriers, losing any positional advantage that he had in this game with no army. Dragoons closing in, backwards attack microing with the Goliaths, but who cares because they're going to die anyways. Here comes another army, but I don't believe it's enough. He probably should have waited until he had a little bit more units push out. And Stork has now taken out that top left expansion. He's going to come in from behind with these Dragoons, but my God, that is a lot of carriers. It's like a Death Star fleet of carriers. Now, if he can do the right damage and take out the location where the carriers are from, maybe we could see some type of a comeback, but Stork does not want that to happen. Unbelievable. Taking out each Goliath with perfect micro precision, backing up to use the cannons as cover. And he may lose one carrier, but it is a small loss for Stork. The pendulum swings again back into Stork's favor. And my God, what the hell can Terran do now? Stork has just done a perfect job of moving the carriers in every single right location, cutting off any possible attack pin that Berserker could have on him. Note he even has a assload of observers just in case his opponent goes wraiths. But it looks like now, finally an attack that has been successful. He managed to sneak a few Goliaths up there. That means that Stork will not be able to mine resources over there. If he can't mine those resources, the carrier fleet cannot multiply. And he might even be able to get this Nexus. Stork instead going for a command center snipe. Down at the bottom, taking out the command center. He may go in for now a factory annihilation. No, going directly for the armories. He does not want to have any more Goliaths, knowing now that his expansion is being taken out. He has to respond by stopping the Goliath production. Sneaking in there, now taking out the factories which were built too close to the ridge. Funny how simple building placement affects you so much later on in a game like StarCraft. And wow, this is going to be very tough for Berserker. Even though the Nexus has been destroyed, the carriers remain present, and he's going to have to use every Goliath he possibly can perfectly if he wants to stay alive. Now look, because he's drawn the Goliaths back into the main, Stork taking this opportunity to pick off the rest of the turrets, maybe for another command center snipe, or maybe just to maintain his position. Now backing out, and good game. Berserker has been defeated again. He looks very disappointed after having a massive advantage during that push. But throwing too many Goliaths into the mix and not keeping them alive. Once again, Berserker, an aggressive player. His aggression ended up working against him, as he's seen it happen before. He just wanted to win too bad. He knew that that was his one opportunity, and when he got the advantage, he didn't keep it. He kind of threw it away. And Stork is a player that you cannot afford to do that to. He is just such a strong Protoss player, so smart. I think he's easily one of the smartest StarCraft gamers in history. Really knows how to maintain a strategic advantage. And man, he used those carriers so well, barely losing any carriers at all, unlike any time it was like practically giving those things away to the Salvation Army or something. I mean, this is... You really see the difference between these two players, and this is why Anytime is ranked 10th in Testspell, while Stork is ranked number 2. Not to say that Anytime is bad, but man, Stork's really good. It's so difficult for Terran, though, on that map when they get the carriers. Protoss know that. I think we've seen one game where Protoss has not gotten carriers, and that was Bisu, who got Arbiters, and, well, he was pretty good with that, too. The third game in the series could start. Will Berserker be able to come back winning 3 games and take the tournament? Or will Stork crush Berserker with a 3-0 flush victory? We'll find out soon enough. I think the thing's going to end soon. No, I guess I got to keep talking. That would have been great if we ended right there. That was a great ending line. Oh, here it is. Stay tuned.